All right, now that it's 6 o'clock, I'd like to call to order the Town of Van Buren Zoning and Planning Board meeting for January 13th, 2026. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a roll call, please.
Mr. Sykes?
Here.
Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Rose?
Here.
Mr. Virginia?
Here.
Ms. McMahon? Here. Mr. Schausenbach?
Here.
And Mr. Budash?
Here. All right, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to a new year. So the meeting minutes from the December 9th meeting was distributed via email. I don't know if they're in your packets too. Has anybody got any comments on the meeting minutes? Hearing no comments, Chair entertain a motion to approve the December 9th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Hearing the first and second, any comments? Hearing no comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approved. All right, first item on the agenda is Centerline Communications, 2380 Ellsworth Road, tax ID number 032-06-03. This is for a telecommunication tower, basically replacing some of the antennas on the existing structure. They've been notified that no one's going to be available to represent the applicant on this, which I had no issue with, based on the fact of what's being done here and what's being proposed here. Does the board have any comments regarding this application or what they see in the plans? So this doesn't need to have a scheduled public hearing. This doesn't need a 239 review. So really we're just approving a site plan here to add those antennas or replace the antennas out onto the existing tower. Nadine, I'm assuming I have to do seeker for this?
So because, yes, you do.
Okay.
But because, as much as this is a site plan amendment, from what I understand, it is literally the exchange of existing equipment. I believe it's appropriate to ratify and reaffirm the prior seeker determination that was undertaken when you initially had site plan approval.
Okay.
There's nothing, none of the environmental issues have changed.
Okay. Chair entertain a motion to ratify and reaffirm the initial seeker motion that was taken and approved as part of the initial approval of the installation of the towers on the existing site. End of motion.
Second.
Hearing first and second, any comments? Hearing no comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approved. So does anybody have any comments on these?
No.
All right then. Chair entertain a motion to approve the Centerline Communications site plan at 2380 Ellsworth Road, tax map ID number 032-06-03.0, as shown in the stamped and signed plans dated 10/27/25. Sheet numbers T1, T2, T3, C1.1, C1.2, C2.1, C2.2, C3, C4.1, C4.2, C4.3, C4.4, G1, and G2, including a plumbing diagram. End of motion.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing first and second, any comments? Hearing no comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Approved. Alright. Next item on the agenda is Simple Roast Coffee, 2265 Downer Street, tax map ID number 034.04-06.1.
Hi.
Hello.
Here?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Do you have well, I guess you don't need one at this point, but I was gonna have you put up a plan, but we could do that for the public hearing down the road.
Whatever you want.
We all have copies of it, thank you.
I have additional information for each of you.
Okay.
No, hopefully it's just the building.
It is, yeah, the drawings from here. There's a statement from the potential landlord about parking and our environmental forms filled out.
Share.
Things are going
These not submitted separately.
Yeah, that's
We're gonna have time to review them anyway. Can you give your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Matt Pearson, 157 Goldenrod Lane in Warners. Good, and I'm here for Simple Roast Coffee. We're potentially opening another location in the Downer Street Plaza.
All right, I guess explain the layout and what you're looking to do.
Yes, so we currently operate 2 of these drive-throughs, smaller form factor in Auburn. Goal is a sit-down cafe. We do about 350 to 400 calls per day at each location. Been in business for about 10 years. And we are expanding out towards this way, mostly because I live up the street and I would like to have one very close to my own home. But we have a good relationship with the landlord here at this plaza. He's excited to have us, we're excited to be there. The building operates as a drive-through only, so there's no walk-up traffic, there's no walk-up window. And this design represents 10 years of basically learning more about how to do this, expanding and really refining the building to better suit our needs. So one of the big things we're doing is adding an additional door on either end of the building so that staff can go out and pull cars up and things through faster. Yeah, so this is an evolution of our building.
Okay, so we sat down, we had a pre-agenda meeting for this meeting. I think comments were sent back to you guys from our codes officer. And one of them was the building elevations and some concerns with the traffic, and then the request for the short environmental assessment form. Looks like they were submitted. You know, we're gonna need time to obviously review these newer documents. But just, I kind of want to hit on some of these points just for the rest of the board, because there's only a few of us that are in the pre-agenda meeting. So this is going to be a building, a permanent structure on the site with no slab.
This is technically a mobile building. It's going to be built by a mobile builder.
Okay.
And it will be using ground screws for the foundation to anchor it down with the ability to move it in the future if it would be.
Okay.
And I should say, sorry, I have Ruby Zoni here with me as well as civil engineer. I haven't answered your question.
Is there and once again, I apologize, is there a bathroom?
There is a bathroom. We get that question very often, yes. And the building, when it's all done, should be just under 400 square feet as well. But there's a breakout for a bathroom specifically.
Awesome. There was also a comment and question regarding the capacity of the existing sanitary system that's out there. Has that been reviewed on whether or not any additional service into that system is going to be not an issue for the existing system?
I can probably speak to that. This building might have what?
Could you give your name and address?
Yeah, name and address.
I'm Rudy Zona with RZ Engineering. I'm the engineer for the project. This building might have 1 or 2 employees in it at a time. Sanitary sewer generation for that is about 5 to 15 gallons a day.
Understood.
But we don't know the line that we're tying into, the condition.
We don't know the condition of it, but if 5 gallons busts the line, you've already got a problem. But
If there's a problem with the line, if there's a problem with the line now, we want it fixed before we tie anything else into it.
We know where it is through the parking lot. We can do a little further investigation if you like. That's not a problem, I don't think. We're just talking about a very small, obviously, add to this through an existing parking lot with an existing lot. There's manholes out there, I'm sure you can get somebody down there, rotor or somebody to look at.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're going to want to make sure that, if there's not any issues with that existing line, especially in the vicinity of what you guys are doing here.
I read in the workup that was given to us previously that you were going to work with the town of Buren on water and sewer. The water is with the county water authority, and the sewer is now with WET, the Water Environment Protection, with the county. Okay, so the town has nothing to do with either of those anymore.
Okay.
And the bathroom you spoke of, is that going to be a public bathroom?
No, it's just for employees.
Okay.
This again is drive-through only, so there will be no customers.
Is there any requirement for ADA for the employees at all?
My understanding is if it's under 500 square feet, there's no ADA compliance requirement.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yep.
There's been note from the town engineer that the drainage system that's in the vicinity of this, of the proposed site here is very shallow. Have you guys located this facility? And making sure that you're not poking holes into it?
We don't intend to tie into any of it. There's not really any ground penetration going on, other than a couple of screws to screw it to the ground. So we don't anticipate any conflict with any kind of stormwater. We do have, right now, the whole area is already paved, so the hydraulics won't change. However, we do have stormwater planters on all 4 corners for the downspouts to try and clean up some water quality and reduce the runoff that we create.
Okay.
That whole parking lot is shed into catch basins. So how are you, do you know that you're not impeding the path of?
We're not penetrating the asphalt at all.
Yeah, but your building is setting on the asphalt, and if there's a waterway that's going into a catch basin and it's not gonna flow where your building is, that's an issue.
It's freestand underneath, so you're gonna have, it's on, it's not.
So there's no skirt that goes down to the
No,
pavement?
you're not gonna have that. There'll be a skirt, but it's not like the water can't go underneath it.
Right, there is a skirt, but it should be able to pass on. That's the goal.
Like I said, we still got.
If you have issues with these, there are 2 of them constructed already in parking lots in Auburn. You can take a look at them, for example, or if you'd like, we can bring some, I'm sure Matt has pictures and photos, and kind of show you what they look like.
We still got to obviously look at these elevation views and, get some of these answers that, we're just kind of throwing some stuff out there at this point. Ultimately, as Claude mentioned, you guys are going to have to look at, WEP approval and aqua approval for water and sewer, but also, this is going to have to be sent for county review. We're gonna host a public hearing here also, for next month. So there might be some future questions that are going to be coming out of this as we continue to review these documents. But the hope is that we'll have any comments, additional comments back to you guys ahead of the next meeting and hopefully in time for you guys to resubmit anything ahead of that public hearing.
Awesome.
Um,
I do have some other parking information. I know one of the areas was parking.
Yeah.
So we did
Please, yep.
I have some 11 by 17s, and I apologize, I only printed 6.
You're fine, you're
But I
fine.
do have one big drawing, so if you go left or right, you can look at the big one. There is a count of how much square footage is in there, how many parking spaces you do have, how many parking spaces are gonna go away as part of this, and I think we got plus or minus 100 additional spaces available to us, even after you remove this. So you guys can take that and digest it when you do the rest of your.
Appreciate it. So ultimately, you're not impacting the need of the overall plaza.
No, and I think Matt brought a letter from the owner that also states that, but this is kind of numbers.
Yes, appreciate that.
I knew you guys would be into it, so I knew you guys like that stuff.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Are you on any type of a timeline here?
Only my hopes and dreams. I am just hoping to be open by summer. That's kind of our season. And to dig in, it's tough to open in the winter in this area, as everybody knows. Maybe that's ambitious, but hopeful.
What's your proposed hours of operation?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week. And we do not plan to play any kind of music or anything outside of the building to disturb the neighborhood.
What about lighting, exterior lighting?
So all we use on the buildings outside is
Wall packs?
just like puck lights that go up in the east socket, and
Similar to residential, right?
residential essentially. Yep. Pointed down, nothing pointing up and down.
How's the building heated?
We have mini splits, so we use the I don't know if that's the technical term for it. Mounted on the wall and then the units outside.
It's like a construction show.
Yeah.
Where are you pulling power from?
So we'll have power running to the building.
From where?
Underground or overhead?
Underground, yep. There's a pole right by I believe it's a barber shop, up towards the road. We had an electrician look at it already, and they said shouldn't be problems to pull electrical from there, obviously.
Where's your exterior service gonna be?
On the back of the building, facing towards Delaware Street.
Attached to the building.
Just out of the driveway.
You need to show that on the plan.
Okay, I apologize if it's not on there yet, if I can find that.
Show the rear. I'll draw it.
Great.
If there's bollards associated with that exterior service, those need to be shown too.
Okay, I believe currently the plan is to use the rain barrels that are going to have flowers and stuff in them for beautification and also catching water are going to be acting as a bollard on the corners of the building as well.
I doubt National Grid will allow that, but you can have that conversation
Oh, I'm
with
sorry, you
them.
meant around the electrical, yes.
Yes, around the
Sure,
electrical.
that's understood.
I know there's some easement and right-of-way problems over in that parking lot, because we've dealt with them before on other projects that's been before this board. And pulling your power all the way from Downer Street, you're gonna have to cross some of those other easements, and you're gonna have to talk to those property owners. And
Oh, sorry, the pole that we're pulling from is still within the parking lot. It's on the back side of, I think it's a barber shop. I can't remember exactly.
there's still maybe some other easements involved
Okay. All right.
that you're gonna have to get permission from those property owners to either utilize their easement and piggyback off theirs, or whatever it takes to get it over there.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
You said there's no indoor service, customers can't come in and order a coffee?
Correct. Yeah, no walkthroughs.
With drive-through service, and we might need an interpretation from our code enforcement officer on this, drive-in service, under our drive-in service section of the code, which is 227C1, drive-in service is permitted only in association with a permitted principal indoor use allowed upon issuance of a special use permit. I'm not sure if that means that indoor service has to be provided or not.
What's your determination?
Well, I think the determination would probably go to you guys, go to the code enforcement office, but to me that means you have to have indoor service. You have to have the same indoor service as you have for the drive-through, or the drive-through is not permitted.
Okay.
we'll have to further, look into that with our codes officer, to get a determination on that. They would come through our codes office and then, ultimately would come back to this board if there is a discussion that needs to be had, regarding that. Jay, go ahead. Are you gonna say something, Jay?
Yeah, on sheet A400 of the building plans does show concrete pier as a foundation on there. Is that just a,
Preliminary drawing, yeah, so it's not very accurate.
Then that needs to be taken off the drawing and resubmitted before the next deadline.
Yeah, we're still working on solidifying detail, so.
So if there's no walk-up service, is it just the porches are just aesthetic?
Yes, so the porches are two things. So we have found that in order to move the lineup, sort of like when you have Burger King and McDonald's, it's beneficial to move the car forward. And so the porch is there to cover it for when the employees go out and hand off the coffee to the car that's pulled up. And also on the back of the building to go out and take the order of the car behind line busters. So the little handhelds, you can do the full transaction on that. It goes to the screen inside. And then it kind of makes it like an assembly line while keeping the staff covered and out of the elements.
So it looks like based on this drawing on C2, you're allowing for 5 stacking on the, where's my compass? Where's the compass? On the, looks like the west side. And it looks like you're allowing 6 stacking on the east side.
Yep.
So what you're saying is the porches, staff's going to go out and hand coffee to fulfill the order? What's the window for then?
So the window, it still operates as window,
Okay.
The porch hour. Talking rush hour, right? We're talking like 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning when it's really busy. In an effort to keep people moving and be able to take multiple customer orders at a time. It basically allows us to run coffee drinks out without going into the flow of traffic.
And you think this stacking is deep enough given, because I was out in Auburn not too long ago and looked at your facility out there and in the Tractor Supply Plaza.
Yeah.
And it looks like they kind of circle around the building.
Yes.
Is the traffic flow there. Here it's a little different. You've got another new establishment coming into the south, which is the cannabis facility. So you've got a thoroughfare going through there, that parking lot. So I guess my only concern is where did you get the metrics that said I got to have 5 stack on this side and 6 stacking on this side?
Yep. So that's what we can fit in the space. But we've also, like I said, done some modifications on this building that original building we're talking about does not have. That building is very small, about a pre-existing. This one has the additional door on the other end so that we can pull forward on both sides. We've also added in new registers with, like I said, the line busters, the small handhelds, so they can go out. They can go 5 or 6 cars back if needed and shoot all those orders inside with one person standing there just pumping out drinks.
Well, let me ask the question a little differently because my concern is, are they going to stack in a right of way?
Sure.
That's the potential I see here because the only problem that I see here is everything's striped. Right, so there's no curb cuts, you can't prevent cars from going somewhere because everything is just based on striping. And when you get into the snowy months, that becomes a little bit more problematic because that's covered, right? So people are gonna kind of, I think this looks pretty good, I'll just sit right here. And lo and behold, they're in a right of way in the parking lot. So I guess I just want to make sure you've thought about that because the last thing we want to do is, since that plaza is going to get busier with the cannabis shop, and hopefully it sounds like another tenant's going to be coming in pretty soon, and you're pretty much taking up the center of the plaza, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So, and and I'll be the first one to admit it, I kind of drive that place right now as the crow flies. And that's my concern here is with, especially in the winter months where parking lots can get slippery. You know, we don't want cars hanging out in a right of way here. So I'm just concerned that the 5 deep might not be enough.
Yep, I understand, and we can pull traffic numbers and the average amount of time per car, and certainly bring that for the next meeting is.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
I mean, do you see this thing stacking up beyond what you're proposing here?
I don't think so, if we have done all of our work correctly, and train up our staff, and we have made huge gains compared to the initial building and what we can fit in there. I don't think so. You know, I think that there's lots of other businesses that do exactly what we're doing, and they operate without issue, keeping it at less than that. So,
I mean, the Dunkin' Donuts on there.
That's what I was gonna say.
And there's
We see it across the street, so
14
I
cars
don't
deep.
think
It's
this.
wrapped around the building.
This parking lot is large enough to deal with that. We see it across the street in a much smaller parking lot at Dunkin' Donuts, is my
If I could
personal
offer a
opinion.
little,
So,
just not coffee, but civil engineering, traffic type analysis. You're right. It does have thoroughfares on both sides, but that's an advantage, not a disadvantage, because you can take this, and if this is full, you can go around the other side, you can go other places. And the same thing, if somebody is waiting to take left in here, there is other avenues in this parking lot. There's 100 other ways you can travel around that parking lot to traverse and get to where you're going. So the advantage of being in the parking lot like this is better than being not in the parking lot. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it is a little unconventional in that you do have pavement markings, but they do have lots of vehicle arresting, traffic calming or obstacles, like the barrels and the bollards that he was talking about, and or there's signage in here, we've got at both ends, so that people aren't, you know, even if it is, you know, snowy, you got some ice on the ground, you can see that where the signage, you know, you got stop signs that are this tall and some other things that will help with that.
You
So
just
the reason
mentioned,
I did, just to let you know, Matt and I kind of went back and forth on that a little bit. We had originally looked at some entrances off of this, but I thought it would be better to have them straight through with an ability to go around rather than have people, you know, stopping and trying to make U-turns or whatever, the angles going in there. So I thought within a parking lot, it's better that way. And you do have other ways to get where you can.
Yeah, I see that eastern side is the one that's going to be the most popular because I think that's the easier access up Downer Street rather than coming off of
You're saying
Craig.
come in this way.
Yeah, they'll be coming in from the entrance and then. So that was my other question. You know, why didn't you flip that? Because you have, if you look at where they're going to enter the parking lot on the east side, right? So instead of coming in from the west, why didn't you stripe it so they're coming in from the east?
They're coming from both sides. You got one-
No, I know they're coming from both sides.
You're talking about bringing it this way?
No, I'm talking about the western, southwestern entrance, right? Right? Flipping that over to the east side to accommodate the traffic that's coming in across from Aldi.
So
Right.
there's a good reason for that.
Yeah, I'd like to know why you didn't do that.
Well, if you were to come in this way, like use this as an entrance and try and sweep it to this side, right? You're almost making a U-turn, and then with this, the way you would have to get this guy out would not work.
I'm not saying sweep it that way, I'm saying sweep it this way, so when they come in, they sweep like this.
Like this?
No, they're coming in from the east, okay, the east. They're coming in from the eastern exit where, you know where Aldi's is?
I can't.
You don't.
I'm trying to point to where you're gonna go, so just tell me where.
So, you don't, so
Show
if
me
you
on
come,
there.
yeah, so where is, so you've got this entrance right here, right?
Yeah.
You got an entrance coming in right here. So why didn't you sweep that this way? Why you got them coming around?
Well, there's an existing lane here,
Right?
and this.
But no one uses that because that's just going from the gas station to
That's not
Tops.
part of his leasable area. He's not allowed to use this, he's allowed to use this. So this lane here is not part of that.
Is anyone following me other than myself? No?
You're talking about the orientation overall.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, of the lane traffic. Rather than coming in from the west side, the entrance is to the east. It's to the southeast.
There's no entrance, this is the west, right?
No, I'm saying the east side. You haven't,
This is the east,
correct.
and there's lanes here. There's existing parking going all the way up.
I understand, but
So you don't want drive-through flow traffic to interfere with cars. I mean, it's gonna anyways here, but this is a main lane and so is this one. You don't want cars backing out and then you got people waiting in line for you to back out while you're trying to get into the drive-through coffee. That's not.
If I gotta get oriented the way they've got it oriented, you've also got room for more stacking.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the same amount of stacking if you try to come this way.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as they're utilizing the two already established drive lanes on both the north and, let's say, the north and south.
And hopefully we never have.
We did, just to give you some thought behind our, Matt did have this kind of this way, and he was coming in off of here and coming in off of here, and when you do that, it doesn't give you good turning radius. You can't make left turns into here. Some of the turning radius is trying to get somebody in a big truck to make that turn, you're not gonna make it.
I think the orientation he's talking about is on page G001.
It is.
Yeah. I
Is
guess,
that the old one?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the original. Yeah, correct. That's Joe put that together. I changed, I won my argument with that. I now gotta win it with you guys.
We're in the middle of a big parking lot, and I understand that, but you pointed out correctly a few times that there's that main thoroughfare kind of going both ways. And it makes an intersection where, you know, it's basically the corner of that gas station area right now. We wouldn't ever allow a drive-through to dump out right that close to an intersection if this was out, you know, if this was the corner of Downer and Crego, you know. And right now, you've got people exiting and entering. No, I'm sorry, just exiting. Right at that intersection.
Which is
Which is awkward.
different than the gas station. You're at the same spot.
Yeah,
It makes a T, which is, if you do traffic, that's what you want.
right at the intersection, that isn't what we're looking for.
Would you talk about this?
Because there's gonna be stacking, there could be stacking at that intersection, you don't know.
You talk about this intersection?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way, well, this gas station, people are also coming out at the same location.
He's talking about this intersection. Because this is,
I want to shift gears a little bit. Since this is basically going to be constructed on grade, what are you doing for building protection? We see buildings all the time on the news getting run into and cars
Yeah, so
flying into them and everything.
So on all four corners, we got stormwater planters, which is a concrete pot.
Yeah, I know, I saw that in the plans, but
Yep.
what about on the sides of it?
They're on all four corners, and you have, there's nothing, you're correct.
Where the window is on each side, you got 30-some feet of wide open target that a car could hit.
Yes.
You're also,
I've seen some crazy drivers in that parking
Yeah.
lot, believe me.
you're also doing all this with painted lines. Why not have some defined curves and some defined drive lanes?
The basis of the business is that it's on this existing piece of land that no one is using in this way. And, you know, we're hopefully staying forever, but if things don't work out when we're ground leasing, we have the ability to take the building and move it. And cutting in curbs and adding all that stuff is a huge expense as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of where I'm at. Like, this all seems very temporary and, you know, temporary building, you know, rain barrels and limestone stones and painted lines, and it's, you know, in a year, if you don't like it, you just pick up and move, and I don't know, it seems very temporary to me.
I can understand that viewpoint, but we have 10 years of very reliable success. We're a huge pillar in the community out in Auburn. We're very involved. We employ almost 40 people now, and we're hoping to add, 10 to 12 new jobs specifically in this area. And again, I live 10 minutes up the road, and I would very much like to see it succeed in Walthamstow. That's just kind of my end goal going here.
So if the plan is to succeed and be long-term, then I think the site should be a little bit more long-term as well.
Totally understand.
Yeah, usually a drive-through has curbing to show you where the drive-through is. This is not gonna have that, so people could run into the building easily, especially if it's slippery out and they get slamming the brakes on and skidding.
They'd have to, we could have these over here if you wanted, but you're definitely not coming this way, not without hitting something.
Right. And these black marks here are concrete barriers. And then, certainly we get on the other side of that.
I would think you'd want some building protection.
Could you, in response to, I guess, several different individuals here, I mean, yes, there's pavement markings, which are gonna work great in the summer, they're gonna work great in the spring, they're gonna work great in the fall. Is there a way, I mean, there's temporary stuff that you can put out there, whether it's those, we use them on bike lanes, flexible, pylons.
Another idea to tag on what you're saying, you could, when you pull into a parking space, sometimes there's a concrete arrestor at the end.
Wheel stop.
Yep, wheel stop, you can use those on both sides if you want.
And I'm more I'm thinking about, forget the protection of the building. That's something different, but I'm talking about defining your drive lanes, your queuing lanes that you show there along with your striping. Is there, some temporary mechanism that can be put in to better define that in the wintertime? That's all I'm saying. It's something to look at, something to think about, because I think that will address some of the defining of the site or definition of the site. Doesn't help the protection of the building because these things will collapse instantaneously if they're hit, but we also don't want people's cars to be running into these either when they're trying to make a turn. So I just, something on my end, is that something I would think about. Maybe that helps some of the temporary / permanent existence of this site.
Okay.
One of the things I thought about was trees.
Wow. They're gonna die. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a landscape architect, but I deal with enough of them.
Yeah?
They're gonna die.
They're gonna die?
I would
Shrubs?
think.
Something?
I mean, like I said, I'm not a landscape architect, so I don't, possible.
Your tree pits would have to be huge.
Yeah, they'd have to take a lot of asphalt out, no doubt about it.
And then forget about that drainage system that's out there.
Yeah, wolves would come over good over there.
With that drainage system. This is something you're gonna have to think about with your business plan and whether or not it fits in cost-wise, but I guess what would alleviate some of my concern is this bigger island that's, sorry, we've said north-south, so to the west. If that were curved and made green and put a couple of trees in there, that defines your lot, it defines your space. And maybe the rest of it could be painted lines but at least you've got a buffer between you and the gas station and sort of a more defined area that you're in. That's something to think about.
Are you talking on the inside or are you talking on the outside?
All the way around to that, basically, and make it green.
This area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it an island and put a couple of trees in there. Your garbage enclosure has a permanent foundation on it, right? So you can't just pick that up and take it with you. So that's something that's going to be there that's, permanent. So I don't know. He shows foundation. Like you got fence posts encased in concrete, right?
Which can be cut at grade. It's flat.
I guess. I mean, we could do that and just leave the slab there in the middle. But again, there's some semi-permanence to what you're doing, and then there's a lot of not. Like, I guess I'm asking to,
Yeah, some slip
invest.
form curbing around there, like you're saying, and create an island would, slip form curbing's less expensive than regular curbing, obviously.
What's in your agreement with the landlord? Not to get into the details of it, is that something that's even possible within your agreement with the property owner?
We never got specifically into it, so I can't say for sure, but they seem to really want us in the lot, so I'm sure we could approach them and discuss. Yeah. I know
could see
that,
parking stop box.
Yeah, and stop
Because then they
chalks or whatever. They make those in rubber, you know, or plastic.
Whatever.
They have all kinds of things now.
So, obviously, we just gave you a bunch of stuff to think about and look at. We'll continue to review these, like I said, over the next several weeks. Hopefully get you another set of comments with everybody's review. I will put it out there and hopefully get it back to you guys. I would like to, well, I guess I'm gonna go to the board on this. Do we wanna hold off sending anything down to the county at this point? Or do we wanna at least get this in front of the county, knowing that, so they can understand what's the application for this site, and then we'll be working through the details? I mean, I don't think anything the county's gonna comment on is going to
It's
impact.
critical, yeah.
Yeah, it's critical to what. So my recommendation would be to send this down to the county as is with the elevations, the site plan that was provided previously, and then all the other documents, unless somebody on the board disagrees with that.
No, I just have one more question.
Go ahead, yeah, no, proceed.
So looking at, I see the toilet on the elevation, so thanks for bringing those in. Where do staff go for their breaks and their lunch?
typically get in their car and
They just kind of head off to McDonald's or
Little Caesars.
Dunkin' Donuts, huh?
And you say there's a new shop going in there?
Little Caesars is going.
Well, hopefully they're not going to the Canada shop while they're working.
And then I just wanted to add, I know that it does seem temporary, but again, this is a community that I've wanted to be in for a long time. I have every intention of being here for a very long time. But the fact of the matter is I am a small business. I don't have the deep pockets of a Dunkin' Donuts, a Starbucks, a 7-brew coffee coming in. I can't build my $2 million pod offsite and drop it in place and have all that stuff. So doing the best I can.
Yeah, I think if anyone's familiar with Coffee Mania in Cortland, I've been to Symboros and Auburn, 7 Brews. This is a very common thing. Personally, I think this is a good thing for this parking lot. People do drive like madmen through there, and I think more of this will stop that. I think more organization and more, focused driving and actually using the lanes that are appropriate in there is what this is going to help that. So, I mean, I agree with some of the beautification and protections. I think there's temporary things that, can be done. But I like this idea, and I like that we have something like this that we can offer on this side of town to this community, so. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So we will send this down to the county for their approval. I don't know when their next meeting is, but we just want to get ahead of this so we don't hold up based on their schedule and our schedule, and making sure that we get the information back, so we're not delaying this more than it needs to be. In regards to what you've heard, and I guess Rudy, this is a question for you, is what's your turnaround time you think of addressing or looking into some of this stuff? And the only reason I'm asking that is in regards to a public hearing. are we at a place that we can schedule a public hearing and you guys would have at least a good chunk of this answered and addressed ahead of next month?
I think the big thing is trying to get a hold of, I think WEP is gonna be the only person
But the public hearing's not, I mean, the public's not worried about WEP and stuff. They're worried about what's going on the site, how it's gonna function.
listen, it won't take us, if we find a solution that Matt can live with for a lot of this stuff, it won't, I can turn it around in a week.
Okay, all right, so that answers my question.
And it doesn't sound like there's any huge, it's not, there's nobody saying no, no, no. So you guys just want to see some things on here, which, we've got to talk back and forth and see what, if I go over here and they tell me to put curb in, and then he goes and gets a price, and the curb is, it's not the width, we don't want granite, but.
Yeah, no.
But if he finds out it's $30,000, I don't know whether that breaks the bank or not, maybe it's 80, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think we just, and the point of all this is just to get, responses and, you guys doing your due diligence based on
if you give me a week,
what.
if you give me a week and a half, as long as I don't have, it depends. Are we talking about, how many, are we still talking about a submission date that's?
So what we would be doing here is.
February 10th.
What is it, February 10th? So February 10th is our next meeting, okay?
Yeah.
We would need information back in front of us by I'm still gonna need help here, Claude.
Last week of January, right?
Tuesday.
Is it Friday, the last Friday?
30th, be the 30th, January 30th.
Yeah, so we would need information in there ahead of our pre-agenda
So
meeting.
today, let's work backwards, right?
It's Wednesday now.
It's
Oh, that's right, it's Wednesday.
So if you were able to
last
get
this
me,
Friday.
Yeah.
if you were able to get me comments by the middle of next week, I could turn it around by the 30th, which is a week and a half apiece. Week and a half for you and a week and a half for me.
We gotta get to the bottom of the code question first, before you put too much more
Well, that's
effort
the only
in.
no, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's not necessarily a no, it's a special use permit.
Well, it's under the special use permit section, that's what concerns me, that's the
Yes, I'm
requirement
saying you
of
have
the
to-
special use permit.
You'd have to go get one.
You have to get one anyway for drive-through, right?
Chris, to me?
Yeah, special use permit is required for any drive-through,
I believe so.
yeah.
We thought that, and then why did we think no?
We thought that, and then I think the architect called and got confirmation that it wasn't required anymore. There was confusion on that from the office when we called and we weren't clear.
When I originally wrote my proposal, just background, I wrote it for that, and then architect figured out somehow that one was not required.
Okay, so there's gotta be a conversation between the codes office and you guys, and I would do that ASAP, so if we need to, figure out any other hoops we need to jump through, then.
Certainly.
Jason, the concrete firm out of Canastota used to be Hazen. They do slip form concrete curbs.
They don't do anything anymore.
They don't do it anymore?
Doug passed away.
Son's not doing it. Oh, okay. Well, maybe, I know Landco, I think, does it too.
They were just in our office yesterday, I should ask them.
County planning meets January 28th.
So we'll get the response back ahead of our next meeting, so that's good.
I guess what I was saying, before you put a lot of effort in on your end, we should effort on our end to make sure we get the code questions answered. And then, by Monday, let's say.
So we're gonna set a hearing or not?
Sorry, I was just
Go
gonna say,
ahead.
it would be section 200-27. C, I believe, drive-in
What was that
service.
again, 200?
200-27
See,
C, drive-in service is for special permits.
I mean, and it raises the question, if we're operating heavily as a drive-through, do you want people walking into the building? I don't want them walking in the drive lane. It's, drive-through is what we're synonymous with. This is kind of like this is the business, right? Like, this is a very popular idea, West Coast all the way to East Coast now. It's not unique to us by any means. We're just the first one coming in. But, out in Auburn specifically, we're not allowed to have walk-up traffic because it's a safety risk to people. And I understand that the code is written as it has to have.
And that's what we gotta look at. I mean, it's the code. I prefer there not be an indoor use either because of that reason, because it really changes the whole dynamic of what needs to happen there.
You're talking about something like this,
So,
yeah.
okay, I guess the chair entertains a motion to schedule a public hearing, for Simple Roast Coffee, 2265 Downer Street, tax map ID number 034-04-06.1 for February 10th, 2026. And a motion.
Move.
Second. Hearing first and second, any comments? Hearing no comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Scheduled. All right, so we'll, I would touch base with the codes office, have a conversation. We will see if there's any other additional comments that we can provide in short order.
Okay.
And then we would just need, that last week in January. We set our newly established date is that Wednesday before, but the absolute last deadline is that Friday, the 30th. So if you could have the stuff back to us, we will do what we need to do.
Okay. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Not so drive up, you drive up as staying in the car, that we're okay. If there was anything about walk up in 200-27.
And that's where our codes has got to find that for us. And that's where it comes back on us, is if there is we have to solve that issue. All right, last on the agenda, the tree guy, 7356 Van Buren Road, tax ID number 051-03-19.0. This is for a site plan approval. Can you give your name and address, please?
David Rock, ROCHE, 7701 North Road,
All right, can you just kind of restate what you're doing out there, and we can kind of go through any other questions we might have.
Sure. Thank you for your time this evening. As where we left off from last time, basically identified all the structures on the property, where they are, and locations with easements and whatnot. And that's pretty much it. We've designated a parking area and a fortified area requested. Have identified the two very small motion activated lights that are used for security. Pretty much that's it.
So there was I don't know if this has got back to you yet, but where you're selling the lumber there, that has to be moved back.
Yep, that's actually been done.
Okay.
It was done the day that was mentioned by the court officer.
Okay.
It is now exactly directly behind the property line, underneath the light. There is an issue with the berm that they originally had over around the property in proximity to the stand. It's just kind of tight as far as safety concerns, so as soon as the ground is thawed, we're just going to carve that back.
Shave that back
a couple feet. And then it'll be a nice flat walkway to the stand.
Okay. So in regards to, I guess this is kind of the explanation that I'd be looking for is, so appreciate you going through this effort and developing this, this site plan and existing kind of survey here. How does your operations work on the site as shown?
Okay, so as you can see, the one building is scheduled to be moved, so nothing will be along this side of the road as of probably the next month or two if the weather cooperates to be able to move that over. So everything basically comes in the main road. Also, all the debris piles have been removed. There's still a little bit left that will be moved so it's not frozen. All logs and things will be stacked along this part of the road, which allows some kind of visual block from Van Buren Road looking towards the highway so that everyone can't see everything down that way. And then basically that covers the frontage of the buildings. So we're only really operating in about an acre-ish of area in the middle, directly using the existing road.
Okay, you do show a proposed relocated wood barn on here?
Correct.
And that's the wood barn that you're relocating from the front there?
Correct.
What about that light? Is that gonna be relocated too?
Most likely.
Okay. So those are the, I guess those are the things that, I'd like to have shown on here. You know, if you're gonna move that light, you know, show where the proposed light's gonna be. I would also.
It's just going to be removed entirely.
Oh, you're not gonna put a light over here on the, by this building?
No.
Okay.
There is the light pole here. This will utilize all of this area.
Okay.
We're basically, for lack of a better term, abandoning this stretch of the road, just to move everything over to
Okay.
one area.
Okay.
Originally, our lease allowed us to only operate in this area. Through all of this planning board but this process, we've decided, with permission from Mr. Noble, to move everything kind of into this crook and just leave this open. That'll hopefully allow the vegetation that is on the berm that was built back in 2016 to increase and provide some kind of a visual block. It's very seasonal. In the summertime, it's very hard to see into the property. As you see right now in the wintertime, it's very easy to see into the property. That is also a security issue for us, as we've had, as you know, numerous incidents of theft because of kind of the placement of buildings and the accessibility to just literally walk from Van Buren Road right straight in. Because when Landco built the original berm, they built it in adjacent to the fence that surrounds the property, but they stopped on this side of the gate, and there is no berm on this side of the property. It's just wide open flat. So we've had issues with literally a thief drove a vehicle off the road, in through the wood line, into the property, took a $6,000 wood splitter and drove out. Wow. So originally, some of the material that was established along this was actually a barricade. It wasn't intended to be an eyesore or anything of that nature. It was purely for security purposes, for immediate response to the issue of that.
Okay. The light up by the parking area, that's there now?
Correct.
Okay.
And these are very low volume lights. They're not industrial.
Well, that's where I was gonna go with the question about the impacts to that property owner
They're
down there.
residential motion lights that you can see on a garage. And they're literally there just to, as a preventative, people see the camera, if the light goes on in the middle of the night, they think twice, right?
No, understood. Right, good.
You know, all the way to the east side of the property, there was a pile of concrete debris.
Yes.
Looks like it's been removed.
I've made an attempt to get most of it out of there. Mr. Noble has informed me recently that he has a plan in the spring to have a company come in and remove the rest of it. So there isn't it, but the issue of removing it is getting back there. As you know, it's very difficult to get to this time of year with heavy equipment. It would make more of a mess than, it would be ultimately more of an eyesore until it was healed. So in the spring, he does have a plan to have it removed. And yes, we had to remove approximately 100,000 pounds.
Yeah, I looked down through there. I didn't actually see any, so thank you for being honest. And
No,
there is some stuff there. I didn't see it, but that's.
We don't want it to be an eyesore either. This was all an issue, as you know, I'm a tenant, I'm not the owner of the property. This is something that just kind of happened, and now we're trying to deal with it.
Your application, it doesn't, I mean, I don't see a narrative of what you're trying to do with this project. And the only reason why I bring that up is I think it would be just from a historical purpose, when future planning board members sit in this chair, to understand what's the intent of you're using this property for. Because as I read this application, it doesn't tell me what you're wanting to do with the property.
Sure. Long story short, process firewood, as you know, on Harvard.
No, I understand what you're doing, but I'm just saying I think you need to memorialize it in this. Because it does ask for a brief narrative summary of the project. And I think it would be beneficial to have that, just from a historical perspective. That way, if, as previous members come on, they can look at that document and say, oh, okay, he was doing firewood here. Okay, I understand. Because right now, when I look at this plan, if I didn't know the history of it,
Right.
I wouldn't know what you're doing with it.
It's very scattered. Yes,
Right.
I agree. We can just provide you that.
Thanks.
Would be hard to do.
Any other questions, comments?
This doesn't have to go to county, right?
Well, I was gonna ask that. I thought we established it didn't, but does this have to go to county?
It should, it's Van Buren Road.
Then maybe we didn't establish that.
You don't, it's site plan, so you don't need a public hearing.
I do know, I do have that noted. I just did not know whether or not.
Well, we don't have a prior site plan where this is not much of a change or it's starting from scratch.
Well, there actually is a site plan on file originally from Mr. Knoll for a storage unit property that was approved. and
But if it was for a storage unit, so the way it works with 239 is if any changes are minor,
Got it,
they don't care.
right.
But I'm not, I think if it was for storage units before, that's pretty significant.
The notification you gave us from Jim just says you can submit this drawing. Doesn't say anything that you've got the right to use the property. And I think, like James was saying down the other end, that should be included in your narrative as well.
We can do that.
I mean, the approval of this overall is not gonna, it's not changing your operation, because we've already agreed that you can continue your operation as we go through this process and kind of try to put a bow on all this and
Thank you for that.
put it to a file and everything like that, so. To cover our basis, I would agree, we should send this to the county. I would revise if you could go through and quickly revise the application to include the narrative that Mr. Virginia is asking for. Get that back to Camry, and then she can package that up with this whole package that's gonna go to the county.
We can do that.
I don't think we're gonna get much out of them or any comments. I'm not gonna schedule a public hearing for this, because this is something that's been going on. I mean, this is an existing.
7 years almost.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no reason for a public hearing, like similar to the last applicant.
Right.
So really, all we really need to do to make final approval of this is address the comments from any of the board members here. I would get something in writing, as Mr. Sykes said, from Jim, to just say, you have the ability to operate as noted, include the narrative in the application, and then once we get the comments back on the 28th of January, we'll be able to approve this. So,
Thank you very much for your time.
yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
guys helped.
Appreciate you working with us.
No, thank you. All right, couple quick items for discussion, being that it's a new year. I don't know, Camry, did you get the notification that the planning symposium's out?
Yes, I got that.
Can you forward that on to all the board members? So please look at that, and if you want to attend, get back to Camry, and she'll put in a registration for anybody who wants to attend.
What's the date?
The 19th of March. So, I won't be attending, as I never do. I don't have to. I got my P. Plus, I'll be in golfing with Mr. Hoy.
I might be able to go this year, I won't be in Arizona.
What was those dates again?
The 19th.
The 19th of March? Yeah, it's a Friday. Thursday. It's a Thursday. But the notification just came out.
And the date you need by? Clearly I wasn't paying attention.
She's gonna forward the information to you
Okay,
guys.
I gotta just remember to check that email.
It's a good idea, because there's a lot of information that comes across that. What's that?
I would check the file.
Everyone should be checking your emails.
Can we go back to the old way of emails?
What's wrong with this email? It's the same thing, it's Outlook.
Well, it's just another email to check that I always forget to check. That's the issue.
Forget about the other one, you have
I
a
got 5 emails to check now. So if it means anything to the board, I just threw our code relating to drive-through and ChatGPT. So, and this is what it came up with. Drive-in service is not allowed by itself. It's only permitted when it's attached to and is secondary to a main indoor business that is already allowed in that zoning district.
So, we're gonna have to have some more conversations on that.
That's the ChatGPT interpretation based on the
Of our
hundreds of
code.
thousands of our code, yes. So,
I don't drink coffee,
First
so.
time I've been to a meeting where we've been referencing ChatGPT. This is the first one.
well, I'm implementing AI at work, so I'm kind of really, I'm really engrossed in it right now.
It's just, it's the first.
I'm old school. So the couple things that I really wanted to discuss here is, so we've had a series of height variances that have come across this board, and they get a little wonky when the conversation of, you know, median height and all this stuff, and not going to the peak and stuff like that. And there's two things here is, one, would the board be okay if when they get an application in, when codes get an application in for a height variance, that they automatically schedule a public hearing for the next meeting? Right now, we have to vote on that, but we can change the procedures just to not drag, make it a two-meeting.
Yeah.
You know.
Just for height requirement, you mean?
Just for height variances, not any other variances, it's just for the height variance.
Well, usually they have to have more than one, since I've sat here anyway. It seems like there's usually 2 or 3 that all come together.
Right. It's something that Chaz and I spoke about, and I think we talked about it as part of the pre-agenda meeting, that I feel like we're getting bogged down on some of these height variances. And then the other one would be, you know, is there even a place that we change the code to modify the requirements for height? To get it to a place where, to a height that makes the most sense for these pole barns and everything else.
Oh, how about like peak height to start with?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of re-looking at the code and rewriting this thing to make it
Yeah, I agree.
not so.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah, let's
do
get the
the math
protractor
and
out.
say, you know, average 14-foot door, that
Well,
puts
that's
you
it.
here.
Once you get into 16-foot doors and we get into that craziness, yes,
6
they're
and
gonna have
12
to
pitch
come.
maximum, what's our peak, you know, come up with a real number.
Yeah, just a
And
number.
just remember, that all goes to the town board for a recommendation for a change for their.
Correct. So we would have to write up those changes and then submit it to the town board for their.
For local law.
That's what I would recommend for, and that would be a local law process for them. So remember, that's at least a 2-month process for them.
Yeah.
Good lord.
I'm hoping we don't have any more height variances over the next couple months, but.
We're coming into building season.
True, good
What was the
point.
last one? A basketball court, wasn't it?
Well, that was something that was legitimate we needed to, I mean, that was one more that was legitimate that we had to look at.
The last one was Canton Street, actually.
Yes, the last one
Oh, it
was
was.
the.
Yeah.
I thought that was the one down by the river.
Yeah, there's one down there and,
Sherry Wilkinson.
yeah.
Yep, Wilkinson.
Yeah, Wilkinson's too. Yeah.
So there's
There's 3 applications submitted for next meeting for height variance.
never. What is it?
Timing's
It's a
impeccable.
barn the same size as Summers.
Okay, well, that'll be easy. So, I guess that's, you know, I can take a look at the code and maybe get a draft going, unless somebody wants to.
Not it.
Anybody? Bueller? Okay. I'll see what I can draft up here, and then we can review it via email. Is this something Nadine, is it something we have to approve as a board before we send it to them?
I would just simply do a resolution that the board, so that when the town board gets it, it's a formal
Yeah, so we're gonna,
recommendation.
okay.
The other
There's
thing-
nothing more than that needs, once you prepare it, if you circulate it, and at your next board meeting, say, this is what my proposal is, or whatever, I'm just saying, it doesn't, you don't have much of a process for that.
So I have until the 28th to do this, when I have to formally submit it to Camry.
The other question we've had is that the measurement to the eaves or to the wall of a building?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
For a side yard
Side yard
setback or whatever.
setback. Is it to the east?
Is it to the eaves or to the wall? So as long as you're doing it, Mark.
Oh, we're opening up a can of worms here, folks.
The overhang, that was the
That should be to the flush.
The river house, the overhang, yeah.
It should, yeah.
Should be.
I'm gonna focus on the height right now, and then we can worry about the side yard. Because I don't wanna impact the side, I mean, yes, we need to look at that, but this is really all pertains to the height and what we've been going through lately, that's all. Anybody else have anything? Okay, Chair entertain a motion to end the zoning and planning board meeting for January 13, 2026.
So moved.
Hearing first and second, any comments? Hearing no comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.